So that's one of the things you might want to look at going down the road. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank-
sir. Would anyone else like to address the Common Council this evening? Second call for anyone wishing to address the Common Council. Is there anyone online, Amanda, that may want to speak? Third and final call for anyone wishing to address the Onalaska Common Council this evening. Not seeing or hearing anyone, the public input is now closed, and we'll move on to item 5, the report from the mayor. Item A is oath of office and recognition on the promotion of Joshua Golbeck to police sergeant. With that said, I'll turn it over to Chief Ashbeck. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. We have an all-star lineup for you tonight. And so we're going to start off here with Sergeant Josh Golbeck. He came to our department as an officer back in September of 2020. He spent some time with us in the reserves and as an intern prior to that. So he has more experience with us. But we're super excited to have him and have him promoted to sergeant. And so we'll kick it off here with Joanne.
And if someone wants to take pictures, we don't mind where you want to stand. If you want to move to a different place, it's no problem for any of these.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Joshua Golbeck,
I, Joshua Goldbeck,
having been appointed to
having been appointed to
the office of police sergeant
the office of police sergeant
for the city of Onalaska,
for the city of Onalaska,
swear that I will support
swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of said office
of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Josh will be serving on third shift as a patrol sergeant. Next, I would invite up all 5 of our next officers here. So Dimitri Phillips, Charles Whitcraft, Christian Kerwin, Ethan Hyman, and Lingo Vu. So the first 4, they started with us in May of this year, just prior to the Law Enforcement Academy. And they spent the summer and part of the fall in the Law Enforcement Academy, along with Lingo Vu. He also was in the same academy. And so once they graduated mid-October, we were excited to be able to offer Lingo a position as well. So he started in later October, and now they are all in the field training program, going through an extensive program for about 4 months on the road, paired up with experienced officers. So we will have them sworn in together tonight, and then we'll have them pin their badges individually so family can get pictures of the pinning.
Thank you for that, Chief. Strapped.
Right, I will have you raise your right hand and then individually you'll state your name. You'll say I followed by your name. When we finish with Officer Vu, then we'll do the rest of the oath together. All right, so Dimitri, you can start.
I, Charles Whitcraft. I, Christian Kerwin. I, Lingo Vu.
Having been appointed to the office of police officer for the city of Onalaska,
City of Onalaska.
swear that I will support
I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the United States,
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially
faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of said office
of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
Help me God.
Congratulations.
Just want to say they should just. And it's really hard because we have EMS and if they go too far.
Okay, so congratulations to Sergeant Gobek and the 5 newest Onalaska police officers. We hope they have a long, successful career here with the city of Onalaska. Thank you for the family members that came in to support them. We know that they appreciate you. Okay, all right. Next up, we have recommendation for approval and or possible action from the following committees, commissions, boards, and officials. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests its removal, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in the order of business in the non-consent agenda. Are there any items the councilors would like removed from the agenda? Otherwise, I'll hear a motion.
Your Honor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Larry Jurassic to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The consent agenda is approved. Have heard a request to hear item 12C earlier in the agenda, so we'll move that up. We're now on non-consent agenda, item number 7, recap of items pulled from the non-consent agenda. There were none, but we will now discuss item 12C in order to accommodate perhaps some of those people in the audience. And this is under Rick Niemeyer's city administrator report. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Rick.
Thank you, Mayor. I will start and then I'll turn it over to Jared Holter. As you recall, at last month's meeting, there were several or many members of the public who did some public input in regards to safety concerns related to the crosswalk at Main and 11th Street here in Onalaska. There had been a request that an update be provided regarding any discussions that have been had regarding any potential improvements or changes to be made to that particular intersection. Jared Holter and I have had a conversation about it, and at this point, I'm going to turn it over to him, and he's going to fill you in on some of the thoughts that went into that intersection.
Go ahead, Jared.
Thank you. As you have heard tonight, we did add the crosswalk stanchion at that location relatively soon after that request came in. We did budget in 2024 through the budget process to be installed in 2025, a additional street light. We have had that into Xcel Energy for quite a while now, but that has not been installed yet. So we are working on getting that installed at the intersection to hopefully alleviate some lighting concerns that have been voiced over the years. We did confirm the MUTC, the manual and uniform traffic control devices signage is at the intersection. The arrow and the crosswalk sign are there. We did also, as we do every fall, refresh up the crosswalk, painted crosswalk on the pavement at the intersection. We do that throughout the city, not just at this location, but it was repainted. We did look at installation of flashing crosswalk signs. Those would be on, those would not be pedestrian activated, but just a crosswalk sign. There wasn't so much the cost. The cost was about $1,200 a piece, but we looked at that intersection and the data along Main Street and the other intersections, and the engineering department did not believe that that intersection merited one any more than the rest of the intersections along Main Street. The traffic pedestrian counts and the accident history did not convey that. So we still have those quotes. We still do have that in our toolbox yet, but we have not implemented that. We are also looking at 2028. The DOT will be working on replacing the pavement and doing a reconstruction of Main Street, State Trunk Highway 157. So we are working with the designer. We have quarterly meetings, and we did discuss this at the last quarterly meeting. They're going to look in all the intersections and pedestrian improvements for the project, but those will not be done until 2028. There will be a public hearing, public information meeting, hopefully in the spring, summer of 2025, that the city will be presenting what will be going forward in conjunction with the DOT. It's a DOT-led project, but the city is a partner in the project. We'll be replacing various city infrastructure as part of that project. We will be presenting what the future design and what that street will look like in 2028. So more information to come on that for the future of the project. With that, that is kind of a status report of where we're at with the intersection.
Thank you for that, Jared. Are there any questions from the counselors regarding the crosswalk and the status? Alder Stevens?
So Jared, in between the Sand Lake and the Second Avenue, I mean, there are other crosswalks in between that section.
Mhm.
Is that correct? Approximately how many? I know there's one by the school, I think 11th.
Painted crosswalks, I don't, on the top of my head, but I'm almost positive we've got one at 8th. We got, well, out in front of the school here at 6th. We got one at 8th. We got one at 9th South, 9th North, 10th Avenue going to the south, 11th Avenue. So probably 8 between Sand Lake Road and very obviously more downtown.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that report. Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. I know I had talked. Someone had called me in Second District, returned a call today, and she had shared again, just something recently that happened to her, and she's in the crosswalk, and to follow up with what Mr. Bina said earlier under public input, she experiences the same identical thing when people are turning a certain way and people think they can go around. And that's kind of the nature of that being kind of a 4-lane right now. And that's what she has found several times. I had asked staff to go ahead and put it on council agenda this evening because I thought for the sheer number of people who had come in last month at council, did public input, the petitions that were sent out that we received, I thought that we as a council, as a city, owed those people at least an update. What is the plan? Because nothing came through Board of Public Works. But I thought, I leave it up to the engineering department to make those decisions. One thing that I would stress totally is people need to start, especially at nighttime, they need to stop wearing just all black. Because I almost hit someone within 3 days after last month's council meeting. And I'm fully aware of that, of the crosswalk, what has happened there. And I was fully engaged watching. And so I appreciate our Public Works Director, Jared Holter, talking about that. A light is due to be placed there because that's exactly where they were. And I couldn't see them because they were literally right underneath, well, that pole, but where there is not a light. And if there had been a light, I would have seen them. But they also were dressed in pure black and I just couldn't see them. So if anyone is in the audience that wants to contact me after today, please do so. And I'm certainly an ear to hear. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, can we tell if Sean McAllister is participating in the meeting?
Yep, Sean McAllister's here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We didn't get a response during attendance when we did the roll, so I thought I'll check back. Okay, we'll log you as being in. But with that being said, when we get to the finance and personnel, I'll just defer to Alder Stevens because I know it's difficult when you're attending online to be participating fully, especially when you're presenting something. So if that's okay with you, Sean.
Yep, that's perfect. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so that brings us to item 8, the Finance Committee, and I'll turn it over to Dan Stevens.
Thank you, Your Honor. Under item 8A vouchers, following is a list of monies expended since the last Common Council meeting dated October 8th, 2024. And the total is $2,901,831.62. And I move that we approve that.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Mike Milky to approve the vouchers as described. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Back to you, Alder Stevens.
Thank you again, Mayor. Under item 8B, approval of BS&A and Andrews Technology for enterprise resource planning software. I will make a motion that we approve proceeding with BS&A.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Larry Jurassic to approve the resource planning software. Discussion. Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. I attended F&P and you may have mentioned it. I apologize. I just don't remember. Do we have a date for possible rollout? Or like month, year?
Yeah,
Generally.
yeah, great question. Once we get the contract approved, then we'll have a kickoff meeting and we'll kind of set all those dates. But I think the goal would be that we would be done in 2025, hopefully.
Okay. Possibly in time for budget or?
That would be my goal.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other, Alder Stevens?
Yeah, I'd like to thank staff. I know Joe had worked on this. When this came to F&P, the committee really only saw one choice and we asked for a little bit more information on this. I'm glad that we have it. And staff's initial consensus that this was the best company to work with. It's also apparently the most cost effective. And it sounds like the software is the most comprehensive, so I appreciate having this here in the record that everybody was able to review this, so thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions regarding the approval of the ERP software?
And just for the record, that includes the Andrews technology for the, I don't think I had included that in my motion, but the intention was to place that there if you want to second that, Mike.
Okay. We'll accept that clarification. All right, the motion on the floor is to approve the BSNA and Andrews technology for our ERP software. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9, Judiciary Committee. Aldernott.
This is for ordinance 1803-2024 to amend section 14.02.19 of Title 14 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Onalaska relating to temporary signage regulations. I asked that this be put on the non-consent because there were a fair number of questions during the Judiciary Committee. Basically, it's a simplification overall, I think, of the ordinance that we have. I know one of the reoccurring was some confusion on the fees. It does mention fees, but those fees will be in with the regular fee schedules. So that's where you would find those. I guess I can also turn it over to Katie. Did you want to add anything or?
You want to put a motion on the floor?
No,
and then-
not with that. All right, I'll move to approve.
Second.
You have a motion on the floor by Stephen Nod. It's been seconded by Mike Milky. Now under discussion. What, you wanted Katie to say something?
No, I asked if she wanted to. She's shaking her head. She thinks.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I continue to have my reservations about item D on page 12, temporary signage allotments and aggregate for residential districts. Mainly the developed parcel in a residential district, which I'm assuming is going to be right, like the R1, R2, 20 square feet, max square footage allowed. And the way I understand it is that they could have, I believe, up to, maybe you need to explain this to me again, Katie, because this is and I'm certainly not trying to sound like a henny penny in the sky is falling, but a decade ago, this came before Plan Commission and Council, and Plan Commission removed it for consideration. And quite frankly, I don't remember what the end result was, but it was removed when it was proposed up to 24 square feet. And now we're looking at 20 square feet. So as I read this, someone could go ahead and put up a temporary sign that's 4 foot by 5 foot in their front yard.
Yes, as long as they obtain a temporary sign permit from the planning department. That would be in effect for 180 days.
And I realize that we do not legislate content.
Correct.
And a decade ago, I came before Plan Commission with what was then proposed was 24 square feet. And I did not prepare it tonight because I chose not to. But at that time, a 4x6 sign, imagine a 4x6 foot sign in your neighbor's front yard. And I have concerns about that. So could we talk about, because we're looking at total square footage. So it could be a number of signs that add up to that, correct?
Correct.
So I guess I would ask this council if anyone here has a problem with a possible 4 foot by 5 foot sign in residential neighborhoods. I don't have a problem when it comes to commercial, but this was struck down. Granted, it was 24 square feet. But whether it's a 4 by 5 or 4 by 6, it's very large. So as someone who has done a lot of sign placements, I've worked really hard to keep the city of Onalaska very free of people trying to come in personally and put up things that I think that they shouldn't be up size wise. I personally can't support 20 square feet. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Alder Stevens?
Question for Katie, how often does this come up where somebody wants to put a 20 square foot yard
New.
sign in their yard? I mean, is this the exception or is it a rarity? Or if we pass this, or will the city of Onalaska be rife with large signs in people's yards?
So I would give an example of, it's not a 20 square foot sign, but the lacrosse super reader, the library signs, those are larger than your average yard sign as we have defined, which you would be allowed to have up to 5, which is 3 square feet. So some of those signs can be anywhere for 2 to 3 foot wide and accordingly. So this was attempting to be generous to residential neighborhoods. It is significantly less than what you can do in a business district, but we do not typically get these requests, mainly because we've never really allowed them historically. So this is an attempt to be flexible.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I just think that if it got to be a problem in the city, we could always change it back.
Okay, well, and Katie, you want to, maybe we need to say how this is different than what the current rule is. Maybe people aren't understanding the difference. Because now the current rule that we have is much more restrictive. And I think that's where Diane is feeling uncomfortable. We're going from a very, I don't know if the word is proscriptive sign ordinance to one that is more flexible.
So for example, just looking at what we have on the books today for residential districts, what we're moving away from is where we can say you can have 1 temporary sign 3 square feet annually. You can have 1 up to 4 square feet. You can have another that is so many square feet. And the intent is that by choosing in different instances how many signs one can have, it is entirely possible that you could have 6 or 7 of these larger square footage breaking what would have been the 20 square feet that we are allowing today. It's just that not everybody does this. It was a property for sale, a property for lease, opening your property up for the public, such as a garage sale or a yard sale. So that is how we're moving the focus away from different events and times when you can have your temporary signs. Whereas instead, we're just saying you can have your 3 square foot signs at any time today. But if you want to do something in addition to that, you have to come in and pay for that. And you can only be up to 20 square feet, not saying that you could do a 4 by 5 foot sign, absolutely. But you could also do a 2 by 2 square foot sign or a 3 by 3 square foot sign. So that's the difference. I think Amanda has some additional comments to add.
Yeah, so just to like dial it down specifically, right now you're allowed to have much bigger signs, but in theory, those signs have to be tied to an event. So if my house is for sale, I can have a 32 square foot sign that says my house is for sale. It actually could say anything you want as long as your house is for sale. So you could have a tiny sign that says my house is for sale, and you could have a 32 square foot sign that says I love rainbows, because we don't regulate content. But the point is, like, right now we have all these larger signs that are tied to like weird events, but I don't know if your house is for sale, especially if you choose not to have a sign that says my house is for sale. And so it's a very hard code to regulate as it is. And so this is an attempt to simplify.
So enforcement is going to be easier under this new description. Alder Wolf?
Thank you again, Your Honor. And I certainly, as someone who has worked with Katie, the time that she has been here, I seem to get a lot of sign complaints through the years, and Katie and her staff and her department and legal, they've cleaned up so much of the paraphernalia of signs that we've had through the years. And I totally support the department being able to manage it easier. And that's what I understand this is where this is really coming from also. Because you don't want to have to be able to get a call for every sign complaint and it's just so much easier to manage. But I just want you to understand that I have a feeling these aren't going to creep in at the beginning. It may take time, but you're also, whatever signs that may come, you're gonna have them for 180 days. You're gonna have them for 6 months. They're not gonna be signs that staff can go, oh yeah, we'll go ahead and send them a letter. They'll be down in 2 weeks. 6 months total. So, just want you to be aware of that, but I will not be supporting that this evening. But I do support staff. I support everything else, but not this one light item. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve ordinance 1803-2024. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1. Thank you. We'll move on to the planning director report. I'll turn it over to Katie Aspenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Included in your packet is a preliminary resolution to vacate and discontinue Pauline Avenue that is located in the city of Onalaska, La Crosse County, Wisconsin. This is the initial resolution to begin the process for the vacation. If you're wondering where Pauline Avenue is, it is north right off of where County Road SS is. It would basically take you into the backside of Festival Foods for a general description. Currently, there's a driveway that is serving the two properties that are on either side of this that is owned by a family. And they are requesting to vacate this land so that each side may use it henceforth. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get a motion for discussion?
I'll move to approve. Second.
A motion on the floor by Stephen Knott. It's been seconded by Larry Jurassic to approve resolution 32-2024. Is there any further discussion? We'll start with Jared Holter.
So basically, this is a right of way that's on Double S between Crossing Meadows Drive and 12th Avenue South. It was platted as part of the plat for those houses that were built along Double S, probably late 60s, early 70s. When the Crossing Meadows area was developed, it obviously developed without utilizing that access due to traffic concerns and things like that. And the strip mall now actually consumes that area. So if you did put any street in, it would come to the back of the strip mall, would not offer any sort of additional traffic advantages. Even if the area was redeveloped, we would still direct the traffic out to the signal at Crossing Meadows and 12th Avenue South where Crossing Meadows comes out. So I don't see any need for the right of way that we see here.
Okay, thank you. Alder Milky?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. In the future state, if this were to be two separate families, is there any issues caused by this? I guess.
So if it's a platted right of way, it gets split equally between each adjoining property owner.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, the motion on the floor is to approve the resolution 32-2024. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Resolution passes unanimously. Item 8 is resolution 33-2024 to vacate and discontinue a portion of Hickory Street located in the city of Onalaska. Back to you, Katie.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a preliminary resolution to vacate and discontinue a portion of Hickory Street located in the city of Onalaska, La Crosse County, Wisconsin. This is again the initial resolution starting the process. The purpose of this vacation is to allow for the expansion of the Onalaska Cemetery. The city of Onalaska will be the, again, owner of the land, just in a different way. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Stephen Knott. It's been seconded by Diane Wolf. Is there any discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously. Item 11 is an alderperson report, Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to note, I had a couple different staff members reach out to me the past couple of weeks and wanted me specifically to call out the work of the city clerk's office with this past election. I had already planned on doing so, but I'd like to add, I was very appreciative of the unselfishness of the two employees. As a reminder, it is under the purview of the clerk's office to set election days and hours for in-person voting, and also whether or not absentee ballot boxes will be provided for the period before election day. I'm sure you've heard some kerfuffles in the news and some people maybe not having them and whatever. And I'm very appreciative of our city clerk and her staff providing those absentee ballot boxes. It's kind of been a longstanding tradition that we've had them. I don't believe we've encountered issues. And I believe this year was the first time that you offered Saturday hours. And I believe you shared with me that you had about 150 voters that day. My husband was a poll worker on election day last week, and it obviously is a very long day. And I don't know, I know Mayor Kim and I, we've been poll workers in the past. It is a really long day, and I used to just do half days with my migraine. So it's a very long day. And my husband was appreciative that we had, what is it, 60, what percent were early voters before election day? It was like 64.6. 64.6. So think about all those people who came through those doors, those 9 days before election day, and the staff that had to be trained. And so I just want to reach out and personally thank our clerk's office, both Joanne Marcon as our city clerk and Stacy Wilk as our deputy city clerk, for your leadership. Thank you to all the poll workers for all the work they did. I know there was many departments that participated in election day. I know we had, I believe, plainclothes police officers and the work up at the Omni and the work here at City Hall. And there's probably too many people that I couldn't even begin to mention, but I happened to be in Chambers walking through, picking up some items election night, and I just walked through and I heard about 9 o'clock, we balanced. And it was the first time through, and the elation that people feel when they balance the first time. So just very proud of the city of Onalaska that we weren't in the news. So thank you to all. Thank you, Your Honor.
Great, thank you. And I'm sure we all agree with that. Please pass it on to Stacy as well. Item 12, City Administrator Report. Turn it over to Rick Niemeyer.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. I handed out the report before the meeting tonight, just a couple of quick updates. I've been regularly updating you on the RFP processes that we've been doing this year. There have been a significant number of them. Currently, the fire department study is continuing to proceed, and hopeful that'll be completed by the end of the year. The one I didn't add on here was the study of the Omni Center, and looking at some expansion of that as well. I'm sure many of you have driven by the community center to see the progress on the construction. I believe the basic walls for the gymnasium are up. I saw that there were some beams that were being put in place for the rest of the structure to be built. So that is coming along very well as well. We've already talked a little bit about the election. I'll just briefly touch on that. As reported from Joanne's office, there were 11,886 votes that were cast in the election, and which is a 97.7% voter turnout, which is pretty amazing. And we've already talked about the 64.6% of those were absentee votes. Yesterday was our staff success training day, professional development and employee appreciation. The day went very well. We had brought in some speakers for staff and heard some very positive things about the speakers that came in. Also had some activities planned for them throughout the day. There was a curling demonstration and you could actually do the curling as well, financial wellness talk, and then a group trivia, along with some other fun activities. So a survey is out there right now trying to get feedback from the day. Always want to get some feedback so we can determine what we need to do the same or differently for next year. So it turned out to be a great day and had a great turnout. So just an update on unsheltered. Staff continue to monitor activities across the city and discuss any incidents that occur. Excuse me. And then I also just wanted to update. I know I've talked a little bit about the WCMA conference proposal that's been out there. We had the site visit this past Friday afternoon at Stony Creek. Was about 45 minutes long, went and toured the facility. And hopefully we should find out in December if Onalaska is picked to be a site for conferences in 26 and 27 for the WCMA. And then the bottom one is just the meeting and events. Thank you.
You can just continue on.
Okay, sounds good. We've done the update on the crosswalk at Main Street. So I did want to touch base in on the resolution 31-2024 to amend the budget for purposes. Can't hear. Hey.
What
Oh,
happened
I'm
to
sorry.
B?
Totally missed that one.
Do
So,
we need to accept the calendar?
yes, my apologies. Thank you, Sabrina.
Motion to
B is the committee and commission and boards calendar for meetings in 2025. As you can see, it's something that the council does every year. It lists on there what the planned dates and times for each of the meetings and when the city hall is going to be closed. So that is what the proposal is. The dates picked are, of course, the standard ones that are by ordinance, unless it falls on a holiday, and then there is an alternative date that is picked.
Okay, so I think we need a motion to approve that.
Yes. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Stephen Knott. It's been seconded by Larry Jurassic to approve the 2025 monthly meeting calendar. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, back to you, Rick.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to 12D, which is resolution 31-2024 to amend the budget for purposes of providing a career firefighter retention incentive. Just grab my notes here. After the last council meeting, as you will recall, there was a similar discussion when it came to the police department in regards to a retention incentive. Chief Fleddy had expressed a concern about his department when it comes to recruitment and retention issues as well, and felt strongly that something needed to be done as well for his department. So I'm going to turn it over to Chief Fleddy at this point in time so that he can give some comments in regards to the kind of the underlying rationale for this request.
Welcome, Chief Fleddy.
Thank you. First off, I just want everybody in this room to understand that this isn't coming as an afterthought because the police department received their retention incentive last month. In fact, we've been talking with city leadership since early in 2024 about recruitment retention issues that exist all across the nation for fire departments. So I just wanted that to be stated, and I especially want our firefighters in the back to understand that as well. Retention of our firefighters can't be overstated. There's more jobs out there than there are applicants in today's world. It's just a fact. It's been a huge shift over the past 30 years in the job market. It stands to reason that if there are more jobs out there than there are applicants, that we're going to have a recruitment problem. But I can tell you 30 years ago that there were over 100 people applying for jobs for a single position, even just to get on a list. In today's world, we're lucky to get a dozen people applying for this job. I can say right now, the fire department is fully staffed with full-time personnel. I'm very happy to be able to say that, and I think it's a testament to their dedication to the city and this career. What I'm about to say isn't anything that firefighters don't already know, but they could literally pick their city anywhere in Wisconsin, anywhere across the country, and likely get paid more than what they're getting paid, and likely get, more opportunity for advancement. That's just known. They know that. Every firefighter knows that. I mean, having been in this career for 27 years, I can tell you they stay because of the positive culture we have and the dedication to the city and this career. Culture and morale in our department is something we prioritize and we work on almost daily. And I can say development and maintenance of our culture is a never-ending process, and it never ever will be an ending process. So it's something that we're going to continue to work on. In my time in the fire service, I can be honest, I've never seen a recruitment and retention bonus for firefighters or police officers. But understanding that this job market right now is tough in public safety, it just is. It feels and seems unconventional. It's new to me. However, in my opinion, our firefighters are deserving of this recruitment and retention bonus. Our call volume is increasing. Meanwhile, our part-time numbers are decreasing, which means that our full-timers are expected to do more with less. It's not a dig on our part-time staff at all. You got to realize that they have full-time jobs, spouses, children, and full-time commitments outside of their part-time job as a part-time firefighter. But the fact is we're lucky to see one part-timer come back in for a structure fire nowadays. It's more falling towards the full-time staff to restaff the station when I do have a working structure fire. And I really do appreciate, I just want to make sure this is heard, that I do appreciate our part-time members, but I do understand that they have a full-time life outside of the fire department and their part-time job. The facts are our crews are being asked to respond to very dangerous conditions with a maximum of 6 personnel on a good day, and sometimes 2 to 4 personnel, depending on if we have other calls going on. We do have automatic aid, mutual aid contracts in place. However, but we can't rely on that as our staffing model, simply because mutual aid, automatic aid coming from Holman or other communities around us, they may be mitigating their own emergencies and they can simply deny not coming. So that's why I'm saying we can't strictly rely on these mutual aid and automatic aid contracts. Just a couple of examples what our staff experiences pretty regularly. Just last week, we had 2 events that I can tell you about on November 6th. At 12:40, we received a call for a cardiac arrest on the north end of town. Actually, it was out in the township, just outside the north end of town. Typically on a cardiac arrest, we need more than just 2 people to respond to those types of incidents. So the rescue and the engine responded. As soon as they got to scene, we received a structure fire back on Highway 16. So with nobody left in the station with 5 personnel on that day, 3 people had to leave that scene and head back towards that structure fire. And that was at a restaurant. And I'm going to say thankfully and luckily that fire was able to be mitigated quickly. However, if that were a working structure fire, we'd have been really delayed on that scene. And I can tell you as well, on just last Friday with 4 people on duty, we received a call for a garage filled with smoke. And while en route, received a call for stroke-like symptoms. And again, we had 4 people on duty. So we're sending 2 people to a potential structure fire and 2 people to a patient with stroke-like symptoms, which leaves our station completely empty. For the past 5 years, our call volumes totals have set records each consecutive year. And we're on pace to exceed 2,200 calls for service this year, which would set another record. To sum all this up, the members of our fire department are top-notch firefighters. I've been around for quite a while. I've been doing this for 27 years. They know what they're doing. They're very good at their job. They're dedicated. They go above and beyond what is expected of them, not because they want to, but they do want to, not only because of that, but they have to because of our staffing. And Alder Knott made a mention this last week. Just like the PD, they see horrible things every day. Horrible things that the rest of society doesn't have to. And each one of us can tell you that there are several calls that in your head that will not go away. They are etched into your memory forever. So even though this is a little unconventional to offer a retention bonus, I think our firefighters are very, very deserving of it, just as the members of the police department are. I'd ask council tonight to very seriously consider the resolution before you. And then lastly, just because this was mentioned last month, yes, the assistant chief and myself are included in this retention and recruitment bonus. And that was to draw parity with the resolution that passed last month. I'm going to tell you right now, I'd have absolutely no issues, no heartache, no anything. If you carve me out of this, I have no problems. However, I would ask that you leave the assistant fire chief in here because right now he's being paid 2 pay grades, full pay grades lower than the assistant police chief. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed in the future as well. I appreciate you allowing me to speak. I wanted to speak last month, but understand that we needed to get the police department taken care of last month. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Maybe I'd like to have Sabrina talk about the finance portion of it, or Rick, whoever's more appropriate. Unless you want to ask, council wants to ask a question of Chief Floody first. Council's choice, I guess. Or we can put a motion on the floor. Well, yeah, whatever you want to do. It's your meeting. What do you want to do?
I'll move to approve resolution 31-2024.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Mike Milky. It's been seconded by Stephen Knott to approve resolution 31-2024. All right, and then I'll open it up for discussion, council. Or not. Stephen Knott.
Yeah, so, yeah, after last month, I did approach both our finance director, Chief Floody, and really wanted to take a look and see if we could do this as long as it fell within the budget. And I'm hoping that we'll have good news from Sabrina on this, but the issue here is, Chief mentioned the calls, and that's something that's demonstrable. The number of calls for the fire department, our fire EMS folks have just skyrocketed over the last several years. But I think it's past time that we do at least some type of a substantial and meaningful recognition. I know last month when we were having the discussion on the police, I didn't even mention police or law enforcement in my comments. I kept referring to first responders, of which law enforcement and fire, EMS, and dispatchers are all first responders. And what makes it unique is on their worst days, they're dealing with suffering and death. And that's not something most people want to do and choose not to do. These folks volunteer to do that. This is, they've chosen this profession. Hospitals, they treat patients, and, God bless them for doing that, but it's still substantially different because the first responders, they're treating patients, but they're also managing a scene. And that scene can be chaotic with fear, hysteria, the locations itself can be very challenging to treat patients, and can be where I guess the circumstances of the response also create very large amount of danger to the first responders as well, from anything from traffic to fire to chemicals, just on and on and on. So I absolutely support this. I'm hoping to hear good news from Sabrina that we can work that in. It's a one-time cost. Yeah, that's my comments.
Okay. Sabrina or Rick, did you want to talk about the financing plan for this?
Sure, thank you. So obviously this wasn't budgeted for, nor was the incentive that was brought forward last month. Last month, the incentive that was brought forward, we were able to offset some of the costs because I did budget for like sick leave payouts, and then with the individuals who have retired within the police department and the vacancies and that vacant time, we could use that 80,000 to pay towards some of that incentive. This full $100,000, I would recommend it coming from the employee benefit account, same one that we're going to put for the police department, and then utilizing unbudgeted interest income for the full 100,000. We did budget an interest income for the year 2024, $260,759 in our interest income account. We have had year-to-date activity of over 600,000 in that account, so we can support that with a one-time expense. I think we can support that. It does break into any type of surplus that we have at the end of the year. I know we've talked about that in the CIP budgeting process and so forth, but I think 100,000 can be sustained within the general fund due to the fact that it is that one-time expense, and we know where revenue is right now.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments from the counselors? Alder Milky?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a quick comment, obviously this is kind of a patch for, you know, I guess, good faith. And obviously we have the fire department study should be coming in by the end of the year. So I'm sure we'll revisit this and look at other things such as wages, but I do want to just say this is kind of an appreciation for everyone's hard work, sitting back there and everybody on the department. And just know that, you know, we're taking your concerns into consideration for next year as well.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments from the council? Alder Stevens?
The first question is, like, when would the payout be? Was that on the same schedule as the police department?
Correct. That would be the same, I believe, the first pay period in December.
I guess really the only issue I had, I don't disagree with anything Steven said. I guess what I kind of take issue with is we're calling this an incentive program, that we're incenting people to stay. I mean, I think it's a goodwill gesture. I mean, that's fair, but if we were incenting people to stay, we would tie it to some time frame in the future. Much like I kind of thought we should have done with the police department. Now that said, our public safety, both police and fire, are negotiated under union contract, and the timing was, in retrospect, kind of horrible because inflation really took off after the contract. And the issue is not, you know, should we be doing incentive programs for staff, which in a municipal government just, I mean, it does not sound like a good idea, but these are kind of weird times. So I can live with this as long as Sabrina tells me that's okay. But really, we're not incenting anything here. I mean, this is just, you know, hey, guys, we appreciate you and I hope you stick around. My preference would be to earmark this to a later date. That the public safety people would get if they were retained for a set period of time. And the real issue is at some point, I'm hoping we can open up the talks again and try to fix the issue on wages. I mean, this, as you said, this is kind of a patch. I think we need to fix the real issue, which is what the actual wages are, and make sure that they're at least on par with people in our community. I'll support this as long as Sabrina gives the thumbs up, but I don't think it's an incentive. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm hesitant to say what I'm about to say because I certainly do not want it to be taken wrong, but I can only control what I say and y'all can take it the way that you wish, but I know what's in my heart and why I'm going to say what I'm about to say. As someone who's been here a long time, I sincerely appreciate all that our fire and police do to protect us. I know some of these faces that have been in this room for a long time when it comes to police and fire. The one thing that troubles me, that just makes me, I had a little bit of unease last month, and I continue to have that unease, and it has nothing to do with those who we are looking to incentivize. That's not the topic. The topic, though, is all those others who are at City Hall and within these walls, and the work that y'all do every single day. And we all have different roles that we fill. And I just want to speak on my behalf that I just want, as much as I hold fire and police up in a very high regard, you know, you wear a uniform every day, and I was brought up that you are up on a pedestal that, you know, that I appreciate and the work that you do. And I get a little emotional when I talk about that because you all choose to wear Onalaska's uniform. And I've lived half my life here, and I'm very proud to sit in this seat and represent Onalaskans. And I feel that some of you who have been here a while, you choose to still stay here because you want to drive a truck that says City of Onalaska. And we have department heads who were born and raised here, who I firmly believe could go anywhere else and make a heck of a lot more money, but they choose to stay here because they are proud to say that they represent the City of Onalaska. So I just want to call out that there are those department heads and those staff members who, the hours that they put in I'm hopeful going forward that, as Alder Stevens just mentioned about, looking at a pay study to do something, whatever it may be, to correct, because this is just a patch right now. But we need to do something, but people also need to understand that, you know, we live in the state of Wisconsin and the legislature has us under these limits and our hands are tied severely. So we do know that, you know, we're going to have to do something going forward in the very, very near future. So I will support this evening. I will also support the chief and assistant chief being included. That's how I voted last month. I called it out last month because I was thinking out loud about it, but I will support it this evening. And thank you again to everyone in the room and those who are not for your service. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Alder Jurassic?
Thank you, Chair. For many years, my career, I was a paramedic. And so I know the position that the emergency work has to be done and the individuals that work at that. I had a job interview one time and they asked me, can you work under pressure? I asked them, I says, can I ask you a question? I said, if I make a mistake, will somebody die? And they said, no. I said, well, I was a paramedic for several years. And that's a situation that each one of those guys, excuse me, each one of those firefighters go into on a daily basis. If they make a mistake, they or somebody else with them could die. So I'm fully supportive of this measure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The motion on the floor is to approve Resolution 31. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Your Honor,
I,
Nope.
let's do this by roll call.
Sure. We'll have the clerk call the roll.
Mike Milky,
Aye.
Sean McAllister,
Aye.
Larry Jurassic,
I,
Diane Wolf,
Aye.
Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Stephen Knott.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your passionate speech, Chief Floody. Item 13, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Alder Diane Wolf, seconded by Alder Mike Milky to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? We are adjourned and the time is 8:06. Thank you.